Most of the U.S. holds its major primary and general elections in even-numbered years, but there are a handful of places where competitive congressional, state, and local level contests will be happening in 2025. And here in Wisconsin, on February 18th, we'll be holding primary elections for a seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court and the state's superintendent of public instruction. And on April 1st, we'll hold general elections for those two positions. On a national level, November will be a big month, too, when elections are held for Virginia governor, New Jersey governor, and the mayor of New York City.